Happy May 7th, 5 minutes with the sales directors inside Linda Tupin's brain. Before I get into my actual 5 minutes of training with you, I want to have a conversation with you. First of all, if you'd like to hear the story of this, why I'm sitting in a room with a blank wall, you'll have to listen to the consultants 5 minutes because I just told them the story of my office. They got a little tour of my before office, and hopefully in a few weeks you'll see a beautiful thing behind me that I'm having designed. I'm going to be a little narcissistic and make myself a trophy room. So anyway, hopefully I'll have that, and I'll give you that whole story over in the consultant 5 minutes. So you can listen to it over there. And then I'd also told them the whole debacle with my teeth this week and how I landed flat on my mouth right outside these windows on a sidewalk and messed up my whole mouth. So anyway, but I was good. They made me a tooth, so I don't I don't look too bad. But anyway, so if you want that whole story, you can listen to the consultant side. But I wanted to tell you personally, as a leader in this company and someone that many directors around the nation listen to and trust, is I have come to an executive decision that I am going to become a little bit more forward. Imagine that. A little bit more direct with sales directors on taxes. Because unfortunately, we lose directors every year, you guys, because they're completely blindsided by the fact that they do no longer work a traditional job, and they're just not prepared to be entrepreneurs. They're not prepared for all that goes into taxes and being taxed as an entrepreneurial man or a woman. And so I'm going to say some more forward things. Some of them will borderline politics, not to change anyone's political opinion, but things change when people start having to write money out of their checkbook and give it to the government. And so I just am going to be a lot more, I'm going to tie that a lot more into my training, because we can't hide our heads in the sand and think, oh, it'll all take care of itself, because it doesn't take care of itself. And so we just need to become a little bit more knowledgeable. And hopefully some of the things I say will cause you to pause and think and then ask better questions, because you've seen it on my social media. You saw it this week. I actually dared to have a hard political conversation by asking a hypothetical question with my followers, and without allowing anyone to insult anyone or to label them. We had the most amazing discussion, because things like taxes and the role that government plays in your life as an entrepreneurial woman are serious. They're serious. And so we can be Pollyanna-ish and just pretend that somebody else will handle the problem, or we can become knowledgeable. And thank God we have a business in our home, so at least we don't get completely kicked into 40 and 50% of our money taken away from us. And so when I start my training in a few minutes and I say, hey, happy first month of the year tax day, because this is actually the first month of the year that the average American who pays taxes is actually working for themselves. That's why there is a tax freedom day. April 24th is actually the first day that the average American paying taxes is working for themselves and not for the government. And so we have to start asking better questions of ourselves and the people that we send to Washington, D.C. And we have to ask much deeper questions. And so I'm just going to ask the questions, and it'll be up to you to answer the questions. And so I promise you'll all be good in the end. So anyway, to prep you for my 5 minutes today, I did some research because I moved and I found tabs with stuff. First of all, my 1986 date book and my 1986 financial journal. And so I married those two things together. And so I'm sure most of you have QuickBooks by now and an app, or you have a software, but you can still get these kind of things at Office Depot and Office Max. But basically, it just works like this. You write down every one of your expenses, every one of your debit charges, every one of your checkbook and credit card charges, and then you label it and give it a code. And then when it comes over to the summary page, then, telephone is a code, hostess credit is code, and so forth. And then you have a running total month to month of how much expenses, and then you compare it with your profit, your weekly summary, and your commission checks, and then you see how how much profit you had for the month. And that's what I used for the first, until I started QuickBooks in the late 1980s and early 90s. Well, I guess it would have been the 90s because we didn't have a computer until then. So this is what I'm pulling from for my training today. And it's also what I talk to the consultants about, of just starting off their career, keeping really good records, just for their own benefit. And so that's kind of where I'm building from today. So anyway, I appreciate you guys, and away we go. Hang on. Hang on a minute. I know I've already been talking to you 5 minutes, but I really want to do the training in a 5-minute period. All right, here we go. My tooth hurts. Okay, here we go. Hey, sales directors, let's talk about 5 minutes. May 7th. What's Linda Chupin thinking about on May the 7th? Well, in order to think about May 7th, 2017, I'm going to talk to you about May 1986. The reason this year is significant, it was the year that propelled me to unit clubs. We were not a unit club in 1986, but we were in 1987, $300,000. It was my last year of teaching. The stats I gave you guys last month, I was still teaching, and I don't think I even told you guys that, and I was 7 months pregnant. And so this would be the last month that I would be teaching school and working my business. And so I want to give you my stats. And for those of you who've been to boot camp, you know where the history is in your handouts from boot camp, where I tracked everything. So if you're following along with me, it's May 1986. This is a month where I have 42 people in my unit. Now, 42 back then was a big difference than the 42 you have today. All right. And then we had 5 new recruits that came in April. And then at the end of May, we would have added 1 person. And I just finished my very first car winner. So just to kind of give you the backstory. In May, I had 42 people in my unit, and we finished this month with $8,266. All right. Now my commission was a few pennies over $2,000 for the month, and I sold $1,900 worth of product. And so that brought cash flow into my business of $3,900. Now I think this was kind of interesting when I researched it. I pulled $1,030 out as just my personal expenses, and I had 2 very large unusual expenses in this month. I have to tell you a funny story. This is going to push me over 5 minutes, I'm afraid. $445 I spent on local newspaper ads. I celebrated my star consultants and my car winners. Now, a few months later, Mary Kay wrote me a personal letter, and I thought she was just being kind to me. And then I realized when I read it the 3rd time that she was telling me I probably shouldn't do that. So anyway, she sandwiched that criticism between 2 heavy layers of praise. But anyway, so that was an unusual expense. And I had $600 in promotions to my unit. I'm the girl who never promotes anything. So I think it must have been connected with the car being earned, because I noticed I had given away a couple of showcases that month. So anyway, I had $118 in expenses for a housekeeper and $107 for office help. So I thought those were interesting stats to give you. So what did I do in the month of May to get myself in a position? Because it's massive action. And remember from all my training before, it's train, recruit, train, recruit. All you're doing when you're selling product is looking for people to recruit or taking them with you to train. All right. So I held 8 appointments that I can't identify. They were either preparing people for weddings, they were facials or double facials. I can't tell from my date books. I had 6 classes. So I had 14 personal appointments. Now I am teaching school full time, and I'm 7 months pregnant. I had 5 training classes for new consultants, and I had 2 sales meetings. All right. So I, as you can see from the very beginning, was much more interested in training my consultants than putting together a show for them to entertain them. I was always training them. So I had 7 meetings with my consultants, and I had 14 appointments with my customers. I attended 1 motivational workshop with LD Pickens. I attended 4 Lamaze classes and 1 doctor's appointment, just for the record. All right. So what do you do with May 7th, 2017? Well, the first thing that you do is that you put together a show and you go on the road. And that show is a combination of a guest event and training. And you have an amazing product called Charcoal Mask to do it. Learn to position all the new products as an opportunity to go on the road, see your people, get in front of them, get in front of their customer bases, and use that event to train and also to recruit and also to sell. That's always a great event. It's when consultants can come, their product is sold, they sell people, they get bookings, and they get prospective recruits, or they get recruits signed. That's always a great, great event, and you're training at the same time. So see the bigger picture. I want to say one quick thing here before my 5 minutes is up about Facebook Live and live streaming, because we're talking so much about it. I have positioned it right now in my thought inside my brain as a heavy layer on steroids. It's not the end all. It will not ever replace face-to-face, but it starts a relationship. It either renews a relationship or it deepens a relationship, so that when you do see them, when you go on the road with your show, with your charcoal mask, and you're meeting these people, it gives you that extra layer. And it's on steroids, because they saw you and they know your story, and they saw your energy, and they saw your excitement. And so again, you recruit and you train, and you recruit and you train. Congratulations to every single one of you who earned the $1,000, because last month you really earned $2,000, because see, you won't get the $3,000 with that last month. So last month was worth $2,000 in the big scheme of things. And congratulations to everybody who earned it. And for those of you who did not, kick butt and let's earn it in May. And for those of you who did, knock it out of the ballpark and go for $3,000, so that your financial journal says, I make money for my family, and we are smart with our taxes. Have a great May, everybody.